Imagine your kitchen slowly poisoning you without you even knowing it. A chemical invented by accident promised convenience, but ultimately led to global contamination. Today, it's inside your blood, in polar bears that are thousands of miles away, and even in the rain. But how did one company secretly poison the entire planet? In 1929, families in Chicago were suddenly dying in their homes, leaving investigators completely puzzled. Nobody suspected that the source of the tragedy was hiding in plain sight, inside their kitchen refrigerators. At the time, new modern fridges used chemicals like methyl chloride, a silent gas that could kill without warning. Even more terrifying, other fridges used flammable gases that could explode with a single spark from a nearby stove.
So if it somehow leaked from the fridge, it could kill you without warning.
People were terrified to open their fridge, unsure if it held food or death. The panic forced authorities to admit that their technological progress had come with a deadly cost. Big business saw an opportunity to step in as a hero. Dupont, one of the world's most powerful chemical companies, promised they would solve the problem and make refrigeration safe for everyone. But in their rush to save lives and claim the market, Dupont made a shocking discovery. A young chemist named Roy Plunkett was experimenting with new gases when he accidentally created a strange white powder. This powder didn't burn, melt, or react with anything. It was nearly indestructible. At first, Plunkett wanted to throw it away, but he decided to test its limits instead. Dupont realized they had stumbled onto something no one else in the world had, a chemical that seemed to defy the laws of nature. They named it Teflon and quickly found ways to use it in everything from military equipment to household products. But the public was never told the whole story behind this miracle substance. The truth about its creation and what it could do to people and the planet was locked away behind DuPont's closed doors. Was this new discovery truly the answer to a deadly problem, or was it the start of a much bigger conspiracy? DuPont's strange new powder, later called Teflon, quickly became the focus of secret research. The company realized that this substance was unlike anything they'd ever seen before. It wouldn't melt, dissolve, or even react with the harshest acids or bases. That kind of durability made Teflon look like a miracle, and DuPont raced to find uses for it beyond the lab. During World War II, Teflon played a crucial role in military equipment, making it a guarded secret and giving the company massive government contracts. After the war, DuPont unleashed Teflon on the public, promising it would make life easier and cleaner. Suddenly, Teflon was everywhere, in non-stick pans, stain-resistant carpets, waterproof jackets, and even medical devices. Commercials showed happy families cooking eggs that slid right off the pan.
What it was for.
The best ribeye, every time. Hexclad's hybrid cookware gives you the performance of stainless steel.
Never mentioning the mysterious chemical behind the magic, but all that convenience came with a hidden price. To manufacture Teflon, DuPont used a chemical called C8, or PFOA, a substance so toxic and persistent that it started leaking into local rivers and the air around their factories. Workers complained of strange illnesses.
So they checked their own workers' blood. And they found that they too were contaminated with C8 at levels 1,000 times higher than those in the study.
Animals near the plants died, and the company quietly paid out settlements while never warning the public. As Teflon became an American household name, its dark side stayed hidden from view. How much did DuPont really know about the dangers of C8, and why did they risk exposing millions of people to a chemical no one could see, taste, or smell? Inside DuPont's laboratories, a growing pile of secret studies revealed how dangerous C8 really was. Scientists discovered that even tiny amounts of this chemical could cause organ damage, birth defects, and cancer in lab animals.
And when DuPont checked their medical records, many of these workers were showing signs of liver disease.
Despite these shocking findings, DuPont made a calculated decision to keep everything quiet. Rather than alerting the public or the government, they hid the reports, protecting their profits and reputation above all else. Factory workers grew sick, reporting mysterious symptoms that doctors struggled to explain. Residents living near DuPont's plants began noticing that their water tasted odd.
DuPont scientists are the first people on the planet to say what would be a safe level for humans. They calculated something like 0.6 parts per billion,
and some started falling ill with rare diseases. But when local farmers complained that their animals were dying and being born deformed, Dupont pointed fingers everywhere but themselves. Thousands of pages of internal documents showed the company knew C8 was building up in water, soil, and even people's bloodstreams. For decades, the evidence was locked away and buried under corporate secrecy. Dupont continued releasing C8 into the environment, convinced no one would ever connect the dots. What would happen when someone finally uncovered these buried secrets, and how far would Dupont go to keep the truth from getting out? A determined farmer named Earl Tennant was the first to truly challenge Dupont's silence. He watched helplessly as his cows fell sick, grew tumors, and died off in alarming numbers, all while living next to a Dupont landfill. Earl collected water samples and documented his findings, convinced something from the factory was poisoning his land. He took his evidence to Rob Bylot, a lawyer with ties to the chemical industry, but a strong sense of justice. Rob had no idea that Earl's case would explode into a national scandal. As he dug through boxes of DuPont's internal documents, he uncovered proof that the company knew about C8's dangers for decades and did nothing to warn the community. The case revealed that C8 had contaminated not just a farm, but an entire town's drinking water, putting thousands of families at risk. DuPont's response was to fight, deny, and delay at every step, hoping to outlast the people seeking answers. But Earl and Rob refused to back down, turning a local tragedy into a global headline. Their fight forced DuPont into court and put a spotlight on corporate cover-ups that threatened lives everywhere. How many other communities were exposed without ever knowing? And could the problem be even bigger than anyone imagined? As Rob and Earl's story spread, independent scientists began testing blood samples from across the United States. What they found shocked everyone. Almost every person had traces of C8 in their blood, even people who lived thousands of miles from any DuPont plant. Wildlife experts discovered the chemical in polar bears, fish, and birds, proving that C8 had reached even the most remote corners of the planet. Researchers called these forever chemicals because they never break down and can stay in your body for years. Doctors found that C8 exposure was linked to cancer, thyroid disease, and other serious health problems. Communities learned their water supplies were quietly contaminated for decades, all while DuPont denied any wrongdoing. After years of legal battles, DuPont was finally forced to pay hundreds of millions to victims, but by then, the damage was done. The company quietly switched from C8 to a new chemical, GenX, promising it was safer, but revealing little about its long-term effects. People started to wonder if the cycle of pollution and secrecy would ever end. What was GenX, and was the world about to repeat the same deadly mistake? DuPont introduced GenX as a cleaner, safer replacement for C8, but scientists were immediately skeptical. Early studies revealed GenX could cause the same cancers and organ damage as the chemical it replaced, raising serious doubts about DuPont's promises. Because GenX has smaller molecules, it spreads more quickly through water and soil, making contamination even harder to control. Testing showed GenX in rivers, drinking water, and even rain, proving it was just as persistent as C8. Communities already hurt by C8 faced a new wave of invisible danger. While regulators struggled to keep up, laws meant to protect public health were slow to adapt, and chemical companies exploited the loopholes to keep making profits. With each new lawsuit and scientific study, the list of contaminated places grew. Experts called it a game of chemical whack-a-mole. As soon as one toxic threat was exposed, a new one took its place. How can people protect themselves from chemicals that companies keep reinventing? Is it possible to stop these forever chemicals before the cycle repeats yet again? Ordinary people now face the challenge of protecting themselves from chemicals they can't see, taste, or smell. Scientists recommend using special water filters like reverse osmosis, and avoiding food packaged in materials treated with PFAS whenever possible. But the biggest changes need to happen far above the household level. Experts say that real safety will only come when companies are forced to capture these chemicals at the source and governments enforce strict regulations. New filtration technology is being developed to trap PFAS before it reaches the environment. Consumer pressure is finally forcing some companies to remove these chemicals from products, but many industries are slow to change, even as the world learns more more about the dangers. The fight is far from over. The story of Teflon, C8, and GenX proves that what starts as a miracle can become a global threat if no one is watching. Will we finally break the cycle of hidden poison? Or is this just the latest chapter in an ongoing conspiracy? The story of Teflon isn't just about a miracle gone wrong. It's a warning about what happens when secrets and profits come before people. Real change won't come from the companies who caused the mess, but from regular people demanding answers and refusing to be fooled. Science and outrage together can break the cycle of hidden poisons. If we don't speak up, history will keep repeating itself, one miracle at a time. Now that you know the truth, will you help flip the script or let the same powerful players keep putting our health at risk?